So many faces that I know. I'm so happy. Okay, we're going to start. Today, my driver was late. He was caught in the traffic. And I was like, you were surprised to be caught in the traffic? The business is back. Dubai is boiling. And we are all extremely busy. So first of all, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to come today. Thank you very much. So my name is Hanan. I work for Société Générale Corporate and Investment Banking, and we will host a series of talks for 6 months during the Expo 2020 in this incredible woman pavilion. We are here at home, and it's a circle of trust, and we want to have this conversation about gender parity, and I know that it is important for you because you made it this morning. So why this session of talks and why corporate network event? Because for us, it is important. Like you, the gender parity is at the top priority in our organization. We have signed pledges, we have made strong commitment, and we are all signatory of the United Global Compact, the Global Compact Local UAE, or the WEPs, the Women Empowerment Principles. What do we do with this? And how do we move from the rhetorical to the reality of our organization? It's not so easy to process and to have policies and new process to move on this important topic. And to do that, we need to talk together, to exchange, ask questions, learn about our peers. And this is what we're going to do today. But before that, we also going to learn more about the UN agencies. So this morning we will have UN Global Compact and UN Women. They will both introduce themselves, and will focus on one program which is linked with the WEPs, the Women Empowerment Principles. After that, we will have a small conversation between two organizations, Veolia and Dubai Women Business Council, and they will share their amazing work. This is the first block of the event. The second block is the networking, which is extremely important. I believe that together we are stronger is not a tagline. I strongly believe in it. So the corporate networking is important. So you might have some questions during the first block, during the presentation of the UN Women and the conversation of the two organizations, but please keep with you those questions for the second block when we will have the circle of discussion. You're not here to listen to me, so we're going to start with Alexandra Tarazi for the UN Global Compact.
Thanks so much. Keep this brief. So as Hanan noted, my name is Alexandra Tarazi, and I work for the UN Global Compact. I'm from the headquarters, but I have been living in the UAE over the past year and a half. So my specific role is on a team called Global Operations, and I oversee our local presence and support our local networks, which we'll hear a little bit more about, in the Middle East area as well as in Eastern Europe. So maybe for those of you that may not be too familiar with the Global Compact, I'm happy to say a few words about our initiative. The UN Global Compact is an initiative that's been in existence now for over 20 years. It all started with then Secretary General Kofi Annan at the World Economic Forum in the year 1999, really at the height of globalization. And essentially what Kofi Annan presented to the business community was to come together with the UN to put a human face to the global business that we know today. And so what started as a very small initiative with around 40 or so businesses has grown to be the world's largest corporate sustainability initiative. We now count with over 14,000 companies. And particularly during the pandemic, we grew, I believe, at a rate of 24%, really showing that corporate sustainability, if anything, has become even more important of an agenda item for corporates. So what is the Global Compact all about? We have a set of 10 principles that touch human rights, labor, environment, and anti-corruption. And these 10 principles don't come from thin air. They are rooted on a set of UN universally accepted conventions that have been adopted by all member states. But what the Global Compact did is that they wanted to make sure that the private sector was involved in committing to these conventions. And so it translated those conventions into 10 principles that I noted. Now, the Global Compact, of course, is also very much rooted in the development agenda of the UN. So while the Global Compact asks companies to take those 10 principles, it asks those companies to take those 10 principles and look at the Sustainable Development Goals. So first and foremost, companies are expected to have their house in order, and the 10 principles serve that purpose. And once we ensure that companies are doing no harm, you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, and a company can determine what are their positive and negative impacts and address the SDGs accordingly. So what I also wanted to note is, as the UN Global Compact is, of course, headquartered in New York, we have 69 local networks around the world, including 7 local networks in the MENA region. Our largest network across the region is actually here in the UAE, and the size of the network has tripled, over the past year and a half, so it's really great to see the building momentum. And what our local networks do is that they represent the Global Compact on the ground, and they really help companies along their journey. It's important to note that the Global Compact's integrity measure is our COP, our communication on progress. So we ask companies on an annual basis to not only commit to goals, but to communicate how they're doing that on an annual basis. That's really, really critical for us. And the Global Compact is releasing a new reporting framework starting next year. I believe it'll be rolled out in Q1 of next year, whereby all companies will be expected to report on 60 mandatory questions, including, of course, how they are taking strides in tackling gender equality. And we know, particularly on gender equality, we're very behind. We know the harrowing statistics that it's going to take over 250 years to close that gap. And what the Global Compact is doing, it is rolling out accelerator programs. So in a moment, we're going to hear from my colleague Elizabeth Thresh, who manages our Target Gender Equality program, whereby we ask companies to set these goals and, most importantly, to make progress on an annual basis. So that's it for me. I think I've overspoken, but looking forward to the rest of the session, and so very happy to be here. Thank you all.
We should have the video.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for inviting me to virtually join this important discussion here at Expo.
This is not the video.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for inviting me to virtually join this important discussion here at Expo. My name is Elizabeth Resch, and I'm leading the Target Gender Equality Initiative globally. So first of all, what is Target Gender Equality? It's an accelerator program by the United Nations Global Compact, supporting companies in setting and meeting ambitious targets for women's representation and leadership. Our overall goal is to create behavior change in over 1,000 companies within 3 years, and we're very well on track to meet this. Right now, the program is in its second round, being implemented by over 40 Global Compact local networks across all regions, working together with hundreds of companies. It's really exciting to see the initial results from the first round of the program that show that the majority of participants, so over 80%, have started drafting targets for their top management. And what's equally encouraging is that participating companies have identified hundreds of enabling actions that they're planning to drive in order to meet their targets, ranging from tackling the gender pay gap to creating data dashboards to increase tracking and accountability, to addressing unconscious bias in hiring practices, or scaling professional development opportunities, or extending parental leave policies. So out of all of these issues out there, why are we focusing on women's leadership? First of all, it is a human rights imperative and the responsibility of business to address discrimination and ensure equal opportunities. But at the same time, we have a very solid business case for gender equality, as more diverse and inclusive decision-making leads to not only improved business outcomes, but also better performance across other areas of sustainability. Target Gender Equality implements the Women's Empowerment Principles, the WEPs, which is a business framework for gender equality across the workplace, marketplace, and community. The WEPs have now been signed by over 5,000 CEOs worldwide, signaling the top-level support for gender equality. However, results from our WEPs gender gap analysis tool showed that only a third of them have holistic strategies in place and are setting concrete targets. So Target Gender Equality closes that gap and helps companies move from commitment to action and focus on really measurable outcomes. It provides companies with the knowledge, network, and practical business examples needed to achieve their goals. Through performance analysis, capacity building, and peer-to-peer learning, participants identify the policies, processes, and interventions needed to create equal opportunities for all genders in the workplace. One of the most important features of Target Gender Equality is that it is delivered at the country level by Global Compact local networks, including in the UAE. This means that the conversations are contextualized and it allows for a deeper discussion on specific barriers for progress. In this sense, I'm very much looking forward to the discussion today, diving into practical solutions that will move the needle for gender equality, with the potential of making a huge difference in the daily lives of women around the world.
So that's for the UNGC presentation. And now we're going to move to the UN Women presentation with Noah Alephny.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. It's lovely to be here and to reconnect with peers and colleagues from the private sector. I have a private sector background, so I love working with business and understand what you're all trying to do. So on behalf of UN Women, thank you all for joining us today, and a very special thanks to the signatories of the WEPs. You've taken the first step, and we hope to see many more companies embarking on this journey. So together with our partners at UN Global Compact, we deeply appreciate and recognize your commitment to advance economic empowerment. We also stand ready to provide you with the technical support that you need to advance WEPs implementation and to overcome the challenges in your journey. So I'd like to express as well our gratitude to the Women's Pavilion at Expo for hosting us this morning. And last, but certainly not least, I want to thank Hanan Arif, Société Générale, for chairing and leading the activities of the UAE WEPs Committee for the past couple of years and for her relentless efforts, including bringing us here today. We are deeply grateful, and this meeting is an opportunity to drive for progress, greater partnership, and collaboration. So we all know too well that women and the economy go together. Inclusive economic growth cannot happen without the full participation of women. Gender parity is not just a moral or a social issue. It's an economic and strategic opportunity, as you all know. Notably, if we were to achieve economic parity between men and women, we could add $28 trillion to the global economy, according to McKinsey & Company. The business case is clear. When women lead, when they are included and fully participating in all aspects of planning, decision-making, and have access to equal opportunities, businesses perform better, innovate better, recruit, and retain better. It's a win-win for all. So if we want to build sustainable businesses and an equitable and inclusive and sustainable world for all, we cannot do so without tapping into the full potential of women, half of society and half of the world. In recent years, we've seen a growing number of companies championing gender equality at work with great resilience and with amazing initiatives, including many of you present here today with us. So much has been done, but so much still needs to be done. We know the history, the business case, and we have enough best practices. We are also fortunate that we have an enabling policy environment and model of excellence here in the UAE to inspire our actions and to enable us to progress on gender equality in business. What we need now is action from business. The private sector is a vital partner and driver in realizing gender equality. And when thinking of that role, there are 3 goals that are most important to progressively realize for each and every single company. The first one is creating an enabling environment for women, including one that has the right policies, programs, and equal opportunities. The second is promoting women-owned businesses and supporting entrepreneurship, investing in women in the community to ensure we leave no one behind. And number 3, advancing more inclusive business cultures and leadership models that can enable both men and women to thrive. So to achieve this, we need an integrated, holistic, and strategic approach to drive this transformation for women. The WEPS, a collaboration between the UNGC and UN Women, provides this effective blueprint that can really realize this purpose. WEPS implementation emphasizes innovative approaches to equality in recruitment and development. It guarantees the safety and well-being of female and male employees. It drives transformational initiatives to support family responsibilities of men and women employees to address the unequal care burdens. It addresses the specific needs of employees, providing flexible work arrangements and promoting women's career development. So when we also pause to look at the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and how we can shape a more inclusive recovery, we must focus our efforts on understanding the needs of women at a micro level and not just macro, and also get to understand their experiences and building and sustaining their leadership. We need to ensure that women are at the heart of every planning and decision-making process with a minimum of 30% representation in leadership and senior management positions in all sectors. Look at how we also need to, we also need to look at how we will close the gender pay gap, a key driver for the economic gender gap. We need to develop policies and laws together with measurable and concrete actions that ensure equal opportunities at work. We need to commit, each and every single one of us as individuals and as teams, to ending unconscious bias in hiring and promotion and in all processes. We need to implement gender-sensitive planning, budgeting, and measurable actions that bridge the years of inequalities faced by women. We need to implement gender-sensitive procurement to increase the chance of women to access and win public and private procurement contracts. My colleague Heba will share shortly a detailed presentation on that, in case this is of interest to any of you. We also need to look at mentorship and sponsorship programs, which are key for women's career development and growth, and to highlight and provide visibility for role models, particularly in male-dominated fields. By doing so, we can build back better and in a gender-responsive manner. We have heard many businesses in the UAE request for greater support from the UN on implementation of WEPS. Many have signed the WEPS, but have challenges with implementations. So let me share some of the tools we have developed. You may be familiar with some of them, but others are also being rolled out to support you. The first is the gender gap analysis tool. This is the starting point for any business to assess where your organization currently stands and to understand key priorities in this journey. The tool is available online. Results are confidential, and there is no mandatory reporting requirement. So we really encourage everyone looking to know where you stand with your journey to actually undertake that, use this tool to understand where you are with progress on gender equality. Secondly, on the WEPS.org website and on the UNGC website as well are several toolkits and guidelines that support business integration of gender equality in the workplace. These are very useful to give you a roadmap to understanding what are the key steps to implementing different principles. In addition, UN Women has developed online learning modules relating to each of the 7 principles tailored to support implementation. These are now being developed and will be available at your disposal for anyone seeking these online resources. I'm also pleased to announce that we will be rolling out a series of in-person and virtual workshops together with our partners at UNGC and in collaboration with the WEPS Committee to support WEPS implementation in 2022 relating to each of the principles, as well as guidance on measurement and evaluation, which has been requested by many of the signatories. We are acting on that. We will also offer avenues in 2022, meetings, networking opportunities where we can exchange best practices and share learnings from our journeys. We can also offer tailor-made programmatic interventions to work with specific challenges within specific companies. So in closing, I'd like to say that it is time for us to create workplaces, societies, and a world where women and men are equal partners, building a future that is more balanced, sustainable, and equitable for all. And I have one message to leave you with this morning. When we invest in women, we invest in prosperity. It is a win-win. Together, we are stronger, as Hanan started this morning. So thank you very much for being here. And I'd love to now introduce Hibal Jardali, my colleague who leads gender-sensitive procurement, to share a few details about that with you. Thank you very much.
Merci. Hello everyone, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to present about the Gender Responsive Procurement Program by UN Women in the UAE and the GCC. So what is gender responsive procurement? It is the sustainable selection of services and goods that considers the impact on gender equality and women empowerment. It falls under the principle 5 of the BEPS related to marketing practices, procurement enterprise development, and supply chain measures. So companies must have inclusive supply chain policies within their organizations. So these are certain facts that we'd like to share with you. We know that governments and corporates spend more than 1/3 of their budgets on procurement. So it is a critical sector. The size of procurement contracts in the region puts it up to 18% of the GDP. And the shocking fact is, and the big gap is, that only 1% of women-owned businesses have access, procurement spend goes only to 1% of women-owned businesses. For example, let's take UAE as an example. Here we have 95% of businesses are small to medium enterprises. At least half of those are women-owned. They account for 20% of the workforce and contribute to about 20% of the GDP. However, these are not getting equal shares of procurement opportunities. Why? They don't have access to contracts that would enable them to sustain their business and overcome the challenge to access finance and capital. Did you know, for example, as per the World Bank, during the pandemic, women loans, asking for loans were rejected as twice the rate of those by male-led businesses. We have to highlight here that women businesses in the UAE, for example, are across all sectors. We shouldn't think that they are only for gifts and salons and flowers. Based on our survey, we realized that they are on all sectors, including robotics, ICT, construction, architecture, and others. So for corporates, they need to understand why GRP makes business sense for them. So when they buy from women, companies gain access to diversified and innovative products, especially that women-owned businesses are micro to small, and they are able to cater the needs easily. It also enhances the reputation of the company with positive impact on its performance. Women use their income to provide their family with better food, housing, education, and spend more on their communities and the next generation. Hence, according to Ernst & Young, women increase not only their own, but also their children's economic prospects, creating a multiplier effect when they start their own businesses and create jobs. For example, in 2017, let's give a global example here. In 2017, companies including Accenture, Citi, Ernst & Young, and Procter & Gamble announced a goal to source 100 million each through their supply chains for women enterprises globally. Let's list certain barriers why women-owned businesses do not benefit from procurement opportunities. They face several barriers. For example, when we asked 1,000, even more than 1,000 women-owned businesses in the UAE if they ever participated in public tenders, 50% said that they never participated, 1/3 said that they did but never won a contract, and only 20% did win a contract during their business journey. Why? Women-owned businesses, they face limited access to information. So in many cases, they lack the tender notice. They are not aware of the published tenders by corporates or by governments. Sometimes when the closed tender procedure, they are not invited to participate or at least to hear about. Additionally, corporates and governments usually they publish large contracts. So they put several demands in that tender, which is a barrier for women-owned business usually because they are small to medium. Also the market closure. You know that there are procurement departments, sometimes they issue frame agreements for a long period, and this can exclude women-owned businesses. Disproportionate financial and quality requirement. Exactly, sometimes the requirement for tendering is over complicated. For example, we know a company that she was invited to tender for a catering event of 100 people. However, they asked her to prove that she catered for 500 people before. And they asked her as well to provide financial proof that she's been in the market for 5 years, even though she's been in the market only for 3 years. We should mention the price competition. As we mentioned, women-owned businesses are micro to small mostly, and they often cannot compete with large companies that offer low prices. Payment behavior. Women are particularly vulnerable to late and non-payment risk. So this is why we have to consider to solve this issue and pay on time. Okay, here we want to brief you about our program, UN Women program, together with NAMA, with the support of NAMA Women Advancement Establishment that is happening currently in the UAE and the region, and how we are supporting women entrepreneurs. So far, UN Women delivered workshops for more than 2,000 women entrepreneurs, enabling them with the right systems and structures to enhance their procurement opportunities. Several UAE companies co-deliver trainings on specific topics of their specialization with us, such as on finance, digital marketing, legal context, branding, business planning, copywriting, and investment preparedness. Furthermore, we're doing networking events for entrepreneurs to share knowledge among themselves and improve opportunities. Further activities, we also going forward with the program. We're going to start the mentorship program. Already mentors are selected. The accelerator program for those who are in the ideation phase going to the execution phase. We have a program for women who are more established and they would like to grow their business. And we have several events for pitching for investment to empower women how to pitch for investment. Through the GRP program, we are supporting corporates to adapt this process. How? We know that many buyers within organizations, they find it hard to identify women's enterprises, to involve them and to buy from them. So how we are solving this issue, and at least trying to solve this issue. First, we started already with few of the companies that have signed the WEPs. We are doing bilateral meetings with them to discuss GRP and raise awareness and share with them guidance, notes, how to implement GRP within their organizations. UAE Women-Owned Businesses Directory. We developed a directory for women-owned businesses that will be shared with corporates, with the procurement departments and the corporates. And this directory is searchable by category. So by category, subcategory of the products, and also the contact of the company and the location. So Dubai, Sharjah, Abu Dhabi, and all other regions in the UAE. So this will facilitate those corporates to identify women-owned businesses and services and goods that they need. And we have to mention here that these companies are vetted, so they are proved that they are women-owned. How? They own more than 51% of the company, and they are controlling the decision-making within the company. One or more women, actually, not one only. The next step would be the training for corporates, procurement entities on how to implement GRP. So please come by and ask if you'd like your procurement team to participate in this gender-responsive procurement training. How can corporates promote GRP? So procurement teams, usually their main goal is to save money. However, they need to be empowered to see how gender-responsive procurement have a positive impact broader than value for money. And hopefully through the trainings that we'll be running, they will be able to see that clearly. Corporates, they should act as both buyers and advocates. They should issue policies, create laws on GRP. That would help the increase women's participation in procurement opportunities, and also they should work on that with their stakeholders. So they need to implement strategies from top to bottom to overcome the barriers faced by women-owned businesses. They should spread more the information, make it public, make their tenders public, feedback. They should provide feedback for tenderers who did not pass or did not pass the bid. They also should provide training on how to participate in bid and to improve the tendering skills of women-owned businesses. Of course, they should solve the late payment issue, standardize and simplify the tender documents, don't overcomplicate them, break large contracts into lots. And of course, they should involve and contact women's organizations in the effort to reach out to women and offer training programs. Please come by as well to participate with us in the networking events to meet buyers from women-owned businesses. Preferential procurement policies, additional to those measures here these are more precise measures that companies can follow. They can have targets. They can put targets within their procurement reach and monitor their progress. So they would say, for example, I want 30% during next year to go to women-owned business, and progressively monitor the process, the progress. They should have subcontracting plans, for example, when they give a contract for a certain company under a certain threshold, let's say $1 million dirhams, they would say 5%, they would say to the supplier that we want 5% of that amount to go to women-owned businesses. Preferences, it consists in giving an advantage for bids for women-owned businesses. Here we can list certain government policy. For example, in Kenya, they have a policy saying that 30% of the procurement spend of the government should go to women-owned businesses and more vulnerable groups like people with special needs. Reservation policies where only a certain type of suppliers is allowed to compete for certain contracts. These policies, let's give an example, for example, in Central India, they say that tissues, woven tissues, can only be bought from women-owned businesses in certain region of India. Thank you so much, and this is my last quote. As Christine Lagarde, former chief of IMF, once said, when women do better, economies do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Iba.
Merci.
Thank you, Alexandra. Thank you, Noah. Thank you, Iba, for the presentation of the UN agencies. This is very important. As we said at the beginning, this will set the second block of the event where we will ask questions, when we will discuss together. But before we do that, we're going to have a small conversation here between two great organizations. Dubai Businesswomen Council, we all know them and their great work, and Veolia, a fantastic organization as well, who's working really hard on this topic. So Nadine, even with my glasses, I don't see people, like, and Marilo. After, we will have a small break, and then we will start the questions, so get ready for your question as well. One more, Marie-Laure.
Good morning.
Good morning, Nadine.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, everyone.
It's refreshing to be here. Although I have one very small comment. Don't hate me, Hanan. I only wish there were more men in the audience. Yes, it's good progress. So anyway, welcome, everybody. This is a very interesting format that you and I have asked to conduct. We're going to be having a little discussion amongst ourselves, which will be narrowed down to 3 questions that the organizing committee had asked us to discuss today. So in a very informal fireside chat, I would like to have you please just give us a few minutes introducing yourself, and then I'll go next.
Thank you very much, Nadine. So I am Marie-Laure Tassin. I'm the HR director for Veolia in the Middle East. I'm French, as you can guess. I've been working at Veolia for the last 12 years and 3 years here in Dubai. My journey has been fantastic at Veolia. I work in 5 different countries, so you can get that diversity and inclusion are one of my favorite topics. I would define myself as a global citizen. So I'm very pleased, Nadine, to be with you today here. Thank you very much, for the invitation, and I will be delighted to discuss with you later on about really best practices. I'm sure we can learn all together. I will do my best to describe you our journey at Veolia. We have still a lot to do, but thank you very much. And you, Nadine, could you please introduce yourself?
Thank you so much. So I'm Nadine Halabi. I am the Business Development Manager at the Dubai Businesswomen Council. We are under the umbrella of the Dubai Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And as a nonprofit organization, we serve as a platform that supports the businesswomen community in Dubai and obviously beyond, now that the UAE has opened itself to the rest of the world. We focus on areas under entrepreneurship. We have accelerator programs that we provide free of charge for our registered members. We have our famous mentorship programs where we work very hard to make sure that the members who come forward and apply to this initiative gets the chance to be paired with a professional mentor that will help her in her journey. And we also have discussions and we put together forums around gender diversity. Now, as we discussed on the call the other day, we are not an organization that puts any policies in place, but we create the discussion and hopefully bring to light the challenges that are currently taking place and what are the solutions to such challenges around gender parity or gender diversity. Being here today is also a great opportunity for me. It's something I'm very passionate about. I think I preach gender diversity everywhere I go, starting with my home. I have a boy and a girl, and so I try to teach them both to be as balanced as possible. And we'll be happy to take more questions if you have afterwards, because I think we have only 20 minutes. So let's start with the first question. What is Veolia doing at the global and the local level to implement gender parity, essential from both ethical and business or professional perspectives?
Before answering your question, maybe I should do a quick introduction about Veolia. So Veolia is a French company. We operate water treatment plants, wastewater treatment plants. We collect waste. We treat them for municipalities and industrial clients, and we have around 180,000 employees around the world. In the Middle East, we have around 4,000 employees. So to answer your question, I would like to start by describing you our purpose. Veolia in April 2019 was one of the first companies to really define our purpose, not only for millennials, but for many stakeholders. And I'm really delighted to be with the United Nations Women and Organization. You will see that everything is linked, actually. So I will read the purpose of Veolia. We contribute to human progress by firmly committing to the Sustainable Development Goal set by the United Nations. And we want to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. So when I tell you that, really our compass for the next year, for the future, and how we do that. So I don't know if you're familiar with our, I would say, motto, resourcing the world, but really to do that, we have developed a multi-stakeholders approach. And when I tell you that, you can easily see that, of course, diversity and inclusion are part of it, and especially gender equality. So we promote professional equality between men and women at Veolia, and our chairman and CEO, Antoine Frérot, said a business is successful because it's useful and not the other way around. So when I tell you that, maybe it seems like nice words, but no, it's what we are doing at Veolia is not only about money. Of course, we are a multinational company. We have financial targets to reach every year. But now, each time Veolia is communicating about performance, we mention multifaceted performance, meaning we want to be useful for our 5 main stakeholders, our society, so mainly our communities, our clients, our employees, our planet, and of course our financials. True. Otherwise, we would be in trouble. So by doing that, it means that, for example, the bonuses, you know, money, when we discuss about financial money for our employees, it's always critical. Our executive, their bonuses each year are now calculated based on 18 KPIs linked to the 5 stakeholders I described, and one of them is, I told you, employees and society. And what does it mean? Gender equality. So we have one target. We are assessing the proportion of women appointed at the top 500 of our organization. And between 2020 and 2023, we want to appoint 50% of women. And if our executive don't do that, they will not receive their bonus.
That's great.
Like 100% of their bonus. Of course, it's a weight, but it's to show you that we want really to engage from the top to the bottom of our organization. So we want to have a balanced impact. So this is, I would say, at the global level.
Yes.
Of course, we have a Women in Leadership program, similar to what you described. Of course, we have e-learning classes about gender equality, unconscious bias, awareness session. At the local level, what I would like to tell you, it has been a fantastic journey for the last 3 years. We created a We Do local network. We Do, what it is, it's 2 local coordinators with a task force with HR, and we want to promote gender equality. So it started from the top. Our CEO signed a gender equality charter, and it was signed by almost all our managers to say, look, now Veolia will commit to achieve this goal. So we started with one tool that was described previously. I don't remember by who. I don't think it's Noah, but the WEP's gender gap analysis tool. It's a fantastic tool. Really, you do your self-assessment. And as you said, no need to communicate on it. Really, it's a compass. We want to see year by year how we make progress. Okay, so it was really a first assessment. And then we built our action plan on that. We have targets, like for example, when we do a recruitment, we want at least 50% of resume in the final round to be women. I will be very honest, it's not always possible, especially in technical positions.
Challenging, especially in some industries.
I totally agree with you,
yes.
Especially our industry. But this is a commitment that we took with the top management and with all managers. Also, we said we want to appoint one female board of director of board, sorry, in Veolia every year. So also we want really to achieve specific targets. And based on the WEBS tool, we developed our own gender equality management system. It's a copy-paste of the ISO principle, so I don't know if you have QHSE people in the room, so they will really know what I'm describing. It's really like a framework with a systemic approach, and it's based on the, I'm not an expert, but now I've learned how to do that. So you plan, you do, you check, and you act again. So really, it's based on continuous improvement. So it's what we are trying to do, really, with an action plan that we assess every year, and every year we answer again to the WEBs to see our progress. I will be very honest, we are at the beginner phase.
But at least you are starting somewhere, which is what everybody needs to do. You need to start somewhere.
Exactly.
That's great, that's great. To answer that question from my perspective as a semi-government entity, the main purpose and the main mission of who we are and what we do is, as I said earlier, to provide support and also to allow our members, who happen to be all female, to develop their personal and professional skills. Now, the beauty of what we do is we rely a lot on our partners because we believe in the power of partnership, and I feel great things can happen if people come together regardless of gender. But what sets us aside is we involve a lot of men in a lot of our forums, initiatives. I mean, I can tell you from now, most of the mentors who come forward for our mentorship program are men, and they are fantastic trailblazers in their own industries, like people in construction, in IT, even in architecture, in whatever industry you could think of. We've managed to reach out, and the response was phenomenal. All you have to do is just, try, move forward, make the step, and you will be surprised at the reaction or the feedback that you will get. So with you guys, it's different as an organization. You have all these policies in place, you have all these KPIs in place, etc. You're working in parallel with the WEBs. With us as an organization, within our capacity, that is, of course, because we do not have the authority to put any policies in place, and we are just there to empower. And I always like to emphasize to everybody, when we say empower, it's not just about women empowerment, it's about empowering society at large. And this is exactly what the leadership of the UAE is about. They believe in empowering society because they simply understand that it cannot function at 50%. You have to involve the other 50% in the discussions, in the initiatives, in the managerial policies that are in place. Whatever it is, you have to involve everyone. And I believe that, first of all, congratulations on all the efforts that you're putting in place towards women empowerment and towards gender diversity per se. And I believe that discussions like these, or you reaching out to other organizations or speaking whenever you have the opportunity to showcase the best practices that you have conducted and to shed the light on how many of these best practices have succeeded in a very informal setting like this, could be a step forward to encourage the rest to maybe take some of your ideas and implement them on their own. It's just, the way I see it, it's simple. It just needs determination, and it needs to have the leadership on board with you in the process of implementation. So I hope I managed to somehow, give my opinion or feedback about this question. But I want to move to a second question, since I'm conscious of time and we don't have much left. What do you think in your organization and your industry are the top challenges that you've identified when it comes to gender parity in the workplace? And you can make that tailor-made to your company or to your industry.
Thank you, Nadine. Of course, I will start with the attraction. It seems that Veolia has been making a lot in terms of gender equality, gender diversity, but I want you to feel really okay. we have only 7% of women at Veolia Middle East, okay? So it's a really low percentage. We are really focusing on improving that, but it's really because of our industry. Our average of feminization rate at Veolia worldwide is 20%, but you have countries when it's around 50%.
Yes.
So it's possible, okay? So I would say it starts with attraction. How can we really, increase awareness? How can we educate the young generation that work in a water plant, work, I don't know, in a hazardous waste incinerator, can be interesting, and we can have amazing employees, female employees in this industry. What we do, and I think almost all companies are doing that, we have March 8th, which is for us an important week every year, where we conduct site tour for young female teenagers to show them really what is our work, how do we do, and you have fantastic role models on site, engineers, control room operator, QHSE manager, describing them what they do on a daily basis and to show them it's possible. It's maybe, I don't know, at school you feel that, I don't know, physical, chemical, or it's too complicated.
Yes, because they don't know.
They don't know. It's really education. So I will be very transparent. As we told you, we have a very aggressive target, 50% of female resume in the last round. Sometimes I don't have any female resume arriving. So how can we change that? We need to educate. We need to educate our communities. You mentioned your family. I think it's a starting point.
Yes, I'm very, very serious about that.
Each family, we hope it's working like that. So really, I believe for us, like attraction, it's the top challenge number one. And then when we have fantastic female employees, how we develop them? How do we create a career path that is attractive to them? How we implement policy that will help them to say, okay, now I would like to create my family. I am in a safe environment to do that. So of course we have family policies, like for example, we extended the paternal leave for all our countries in the GCC where we operate. We followed the UAE policy that was like regulation that was implemented last year. Or this year, I forgot. We have also flexible policies. So we have, and maybe for you it's normal. I'm not Google, I'm Veolia. I'm a 150 years company. So we do one remote working day per week.
Okay.
It's for us, it's a big improvement. So how can we really implement and adapt our policy to attract women? The maternity leave, for example.
Yes.
Of course, we do a bit better than the law.
Yeah, on the policy side, there's so many things that could be done that would definitely make women want to be part of that industry. And
Totally.
all industries, not just that, or actually all organizations.
Exactly. And you mentioned also mentoring.
Yes.
I strongly believe in mentoring, and really I'm very pleased to see male in the audience, because I can tell you my own example. I'm part of a mentoring program at the Veolia Group. I have one of the top senior executive who is a board member of Veolia, so like who is taking 1 hour per month for 1 year and is trying to develop me.
That's perfect.
So, and really, I have 3 clear development targets. I can totally share them with you. I've been appointed to a board recently, so I wanted advice, tip, practical tip, to be more, I would say, relevant, to ask for relevant questions during the meetings. One side also was how to develop my political side, how to navigate better in such organization. So it's really practical tip, and also I saw that he had a M&A background, and we are in the middle of a big acquisition. I'm sure you know which one. So how can I navigate in this specific environment? So it has been really an honor for me, and I asked my mentor, I hope it's also useful for you, and I hope it was not a nice answer, but he told me very simply, I'm not familiar with the Middle East environment, so by that, you are really helping me. Also, he told me at the corporate level in Paris, okay, we have an idea, but I've never had the real, like the opinion, the feedback of, I would say, like one operation, and it's a good, I would say, moment for him for that. So, again, I'm sure we'll have a question. I will be there for the networking. Please feel free. Nadine,
Sure.
I'm trying to really try your example and the policy, like not the policies, but the tip that you are giving to companies like us in the private sectors. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. From my perspective, I agree with pretty much everything that you said. I am a firm believer that yes, we need to create more awareness, especially about more male-dominant industries like the waste industries and even energy sector and maybe also construction. It's just about, it's actually, when we say create more awareness, it also needs to involve the mothers, the schools, mothers and fathers, as in parents, the schools, even at the workplace. It's a full circle kind of project where everybody needs to be on board, all hands on deck, because changing the mindset is not easy and it doesn't happen quickly. It needs time. But if we are persistent and if we all come together and work, and I know that mothers have to do twice the job because they are working and they are also raising a family, and God knows I know how challenging that is. But the beauty of it is when we feel that we're really transforming our children, when we see that we're really adding value to the way they think and slowly but surely changing their mindset, that alone is rewarding in itself. And we have to start in the home. And then we also need to be more aggressive about showing them these different industries in schools, maybe taking them for a day where they can shadow an engineer or somebody in the energy field, or maybe somebody in, I don't know, whatever male-dominated industries out there. Investing times, the schools should invest time in actually working with these organizations where they can actually allocate a couple of hours for these children to go and see. Because whatever we Google online is one thing, whereas if we go and we see it live, it's something completely different. Another thing I believe in as well is the importance of a leadership that has a mindset of inclusivity. And by that, it does not just mean that we have to have male and females somehow balanced in the workforce. The leadership mindset to be inclusive is somebody who wants to really affect the team positively. Somebody who wants his team or her team to grow with her. Because this alone is a very, very important factor. And especially with the youth joining the workforces now, it's very important for them to see such role models, as you just said earlier, as leaders. It's imperative that everybody does that, you know? But again, these things will take time. Also, it's crucial that women work somewhere where they feel more comfortable with the circumstances of the workforce, like more flexible working hours, longer maternity leaves, paternity leaves as well, because when we talk about gender parity, even at home, I can't be somebody who is an advocate of gender parity at work, but at home, I get to do everything, and wallah, my husband is just there because he looks good, you know? No, 50-50. I cook, you do the dishes, and then the children will see that, and it will automatically be part of their mindset and the way that they're raised. So there's a lot of work. Changing mindset does not happen overnight. It's collective energy, it is collective effort, and it needs to start at a very, very young age. Finally, again, in agreement with what you said, learning and development is key. I don't think there is any ceiling for that. Men, women, CEOs, young executives, it does not matter. We need to keep learning, especially when we are living at a time where things are rapidly moving and they're changing, and it's not the same anymore. Every 6 months, we need to update something about ourselves and in our industries and everything, even with our children. Every 6 months, there's something new. I can't keep up with the pace. So learning, growing, developing, and honing your skills is also something that should be at the top of everybody's agenda. So Hanan, I think that's it, no? Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. This was interesting. This was very different, actually. I've never had the fireside chat like this, but there's always a first time. It was a pleasure. Thank you for the insights.
Thank you very much.
We'll be around for more Q&As, chatting, getting to know you. So
Yes.
just
Thank you.
Merci,
Thank you so
Hanan.
much. Thank you so much. Thank you. So that's for the first block of this event. I hope that this first block will set the tone for the second part, where you will be asking questions. And no pressure for our ladies from the UN agencies or for Nadine and Marie-Laure, but they are here also to respond to those questions. So we want to work together. We want to do this corporate networking, share what we do. How do we implement policies? How do we change our processes to advance and to activate our work on this topic? It's a mindset changing. It's a lot of things. We can do it. All of you, I know, have already started to work on it. I love, Marie-Laure, the bonus thing. As a bank sector, I'm going to push that. But I know that some companies here are already doing this. Sodexo? Yes. Sodexo, you have a lot to share with us, I know. So what about we do a small break? We take a coffee, take water, and we come back. So this was supposed to be after a roundtable session, but as you can see, we do not have tables. So we will do, I don't think we're going to move the chairs. I think we're going to keep them like this. We have put some question on your seats, if that can help you to start the conversation, but we are open to all questions. So let's have a small coffee.